Hi, welcome to the Marley Bird channel. In this video, you will learn how to add stitches at the beginning and the end of the row. Now, this is not simply just doing an increase at the very first stitch or the very last stitch. We are literally going to add chain stitches at the beginning and the end of the row to create a significant amount of more stitches. I use this type of increase a lot when I'm making sweaters that are one piece. So look over here, let's look down at my hands real quick, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So I'm looking at one of my patterns right now, and you can see in this schematic right here that it looks like it's just a big old square, and then there are sleeves that jet out from the back of the sweater. Here is a little sample of what that would look like. Can you see that? So like if this were the back of the sweater, I have stitches added right here and right here to create the sleeves of the sweater. So rather than doing a bunch of increases right at the beginning or the end of a row, which would give us a completely different look. If we added increases at the beginning or the end of a row, we would get a look like this. But because we want to add a full amount of stitches to create these sleeves, we're going to add on stitches like this. Some books that I've come across have called these external increases. I've just always called them adding increases with chains at the end of the beginning and the end of the row. So let's go ahead and learn how to do that. I'm going to move this swatch out of the way, and we're going to continue working on this one. I'm just going to use a new color so that you can see what I mean, okay? Now, typically, if you were working on a pattern and it said it was time to add stitches, you would get to the end of the row, you would put your marker or your loop on a holder, and you would get a new ball of yarn, and you would join a new ball of yarn at the opposite end. So we're going to assume that our working yarn is down here, and we're going to join a new ball of yarn down here. So I'm just going to take a new ball of yarn, and it could be the same color. It does not have to be a different color, but we're using a different color to show you today what's going on. And I'm just going to join it with a slip stitch, okay? And now I'm just going to chain however many it says to chain. So maybe it says to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to finish it off, so I have to chain one more because that's going to disappear. Cut my yarn so that I leave at least a 4 to 6 inch tail always. Pull that through and give it a snug tug. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. That's what I have there, which is great because I'm going to add 5 stitches. Now down here at this end, what are we going to do? Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead, grab our yarn, and because I don't have an active loop going on right here and we're just beginning automatically with these chains on here, I'm going to go ahead, and since I don't have an active loop and I'm using a new color, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with a slip knot over here as well. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But because I'm not going to finish this off, I'm actually going to do a turning chain and come working back. I'm going to chain one more, turn my work, and now I'm going to skip the first chain from hook and do my single crochet in my second chain. So it's as if I'm working in a foundation chain again. And what will happen is we will get our 5 single crochets along this chain that we've done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep in mind that this should be the same color as whatever your project will be, unless the pattern has said to change colors, but I've changed colors so that you could see what was going on here. So I've done my 5 single crochets, and then I just continue on working across my already established fabric until I get to the other side. When I get to the other side and I have those chains over there waiting for me to work into, what do you think I'm going to do? That's right, I'm going to work into those chains as if they're a foundation chain as well. When we're working with single crochets like this, it's very easy to, add stitches and maneuver them and, get all the stitches to line up and go into the already established fabric. But if you were working with different types of pattern stitches, maybe you have a combination of doubles and singles and trebles and all sorts of stuff, whatever it may be for a pattern stitch, you can still add on with these chain stitches at the beginning and the end of the row, but when you come up to this section, you want your ending pattern stitch to meet up with your ending pattern stitch of your chains. So it will automatically become a full repeat pattern stitch. That's a little bit more advanced than you need to really understand right now, but more than anything, I just want you to know that it's possible to not only do this it's possible to do this in more than just single crochets. So I've done 2 into my chain, 3, 4 right here, and I'm into the last one. I'm gonna take that out, 5. So I have now, if I set this down, look at this. If I were to say I was making something that was going to be a T shape, I've created 5 more stitches to come out along here. So if I were carrying on, I would go ahead and chain 1, turn my work, continue doing my single crochets down my row. I'm just going to use my marker because I like using markers to point out the beginning and end of my rows. So I'm going to stick that in there. And I would treat these now as whatever the pattern is that you have established. So for our pattern, we have single crochets established. So I just am working right along and I go right into the body of the work, continue on to the other side that's jettisoning out. Now there are different patterns that do this other than just garments. I have seen shawl patterns that will add stitches in this manner. I have seen things that will toys, amigurumi toys, maybe they want to incorporate the arm of whatever it may be, so they'll add stitches like this. I've seen it done for many different projects. I've seen it done to add a border to a hat or a shawl or whatever it may be. So this is a technique that you will be able to use even if you're not going to make garments. I just happened to show you the example of the schematic so that you could get an idea of what it is going to look like when you add these stitches like this using the chain. It's a really common practice, and it's one that the first time I did it, I wasn't exactly sure what was going on, and I just followed the instructions with blind faith. I was actually making the Comfy Cardi sweater by Robin Chichula, and it said that at the end of the row, you took your hook out of so it's like I came down here and I took my hook out, and it said, just make it so that it doesn't go anywhere. And then it said to add a new ball of yarn down here at this end, just like we did, and chain a certain number of stitches and finish off. And then come back with your hook and put it in here and chain a certain amount of stitches and then carry on through the pattern. And I was like, that just does not make any sense to me. I've never seen that before, but I did it and I was like, oh my gosh, that works. It's so fantastic. And ever since then, I have used that technique. I think it's great. So can you see it here? You see how it just extends out? It looks pretty darn cool if you ask me. Okay, so now you know how to do the adding stitches at the beginning and the end of the row by adding chains into your project. It's not as simple as just increasing. We've actually completed a whole new set of foundation chains. I hope that you will use this technique in some of your future projects, and if you have any more questions, please leave a comment and let me know what they are, and maybe I can help you out with that. Check out some of the other videos on the Marley Berg YouTube channel. Better yet, hit subscribe so you're up to date whenever there's a new technique or pattern stitch. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.